I'm Marion Wrightington, and other than raising my family, I do feel that one of the biggest things I was put on this earth for was to preserve history. Back in 1976, I became a member of the Attleboro Historical Commission, and I learned all of my Attleboro history by sitting in these meetings with people like Larry Fitton, Ruth Nerney, Betty Phillips, Henry Pelletier. I became very aware of the fact that we have to save our old historic buildings. They are testimonials to our heritage, and we have to find new uses for them so that they can continue to live on. Cleaning them up and finding a new use for them just makes the quality of life and character for everyone in the city better. We have to make the children aware of our history, and we can't do that if we don't have some of these buildings left. So that's why it's very important for us to save a building like the Tappan House. It's a 3-story, 27-room mansion built in 1901, and it's just a gorgeous piece of property if it was well maintained. I know that the hospital said the Tappans sold it to them with the idea that the hospital would be expanding, but I still don't think that it was in the ideas of the Tappan family's heads to think that they would actually demolish the building. In its heyday, it was absolutely beautiful. It had a pool room on the 3rd floor, and all of the woodwork was supposedly imported. There was parquet floors. The plaster work in the ceilings was magnificent. There's marble and there's tile and just every kind of exquisite type of fixture that you could have back in that era. And Mr. Tappan was famous for jewelry, and he designed the Carmen bracelets, and I wore mine today to show you the Carmen bracelet. He named it Carmen because his most favorite opera was the Carmen opera, and it was just an expansion band with a locket in the middle, and many other jewelry companies copied it afterwards. I like to collect old Attleboro jewelry, and one day I was down the Cape at a large flea market, and I approached a dealer who had a table full of antique jewelry, and so I said to her, "Do you know if you've got anything that was made in Attleboro?" And she looked at me and said, "Well, probably all of it." And back in 2002, when the hospital wanted to demolish the building the last time, the Preservation Massachusetts, which is a group out of Boston, named the Tappan House one of the 10 most endangered properties in the state. The Massachusetts Historical Commission declared it eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. The Attleboro Historical Commission and the Attleboro Historic Preservation Society both worked to try and save it, and the Attleboro City Council actually made a resolution to preserve and save the Tappan House. We have a demolition delay ordinance on the books that the Historical Commission put on. It took us 3.5 years to get it, and we only got 45 days. We had asked for either 6 months or a year or 2 years, but the council only gave us 45 days, and there was over 60 communities in the state that had demolition delay ordinances. Most of them had 6 months, a year, or 2 years. So our demolition delay ordinance just isn't long enough to try and save this building as well as we could. The demolition delay is up around Christmas, so that means from any time from that point on, they would be allowed to demolish it. The hospital told me that they tried very hard back in 2002 to find a client to buy it, and they did have a website, buy this building for $1 and then move it. They did advertise in This Whole House magazine. But just because no one came forward then, to me, doesn't mean that there isn't anybody out there now. That house would make a beautiful bed and breakfast. Absolutely wonderful for that, or it could be a tourist attraction for Attleboro. If the hospital wanted to restore it, it could be a museum for their own history. Sturdy Memorial Hospital has their own history here in Attleboro, and we certainly are very appreciative of all of the care and services that Sturdy does do for the community. And I know that to move forward with the level of health care that they give, they do have to expand and put on additions and that type of thing. Most large hospitals that you're aware of have multi-levels, and most of them also have multi-level parking garages. They have quite a bit of land there, and the house is only a small portion. After they acquired the building, which was just 50 years ago this month, it was used by VersaCare for many years, and I believe that right now it's being used for some type of medical offices for the hospital. Christmas Day is the day when the demolition delay ordinance is up. So anytime after that they can demolish it. The demolition delay ordinance is one of the tools that the Massachusetts Historical Commission suggests to the local commissions to try and get on the books, because it's one of the only things that we can have to use to stop demolition of these buildings. I do feel that the commission is probably going to be approaching the city council again to try and have that demolition delay ordinance lengthened. If people who are watching at home want to write to the paper, the Voice of the Public column, and just tell them how they feel, if anybody has any ideas, they can call me. I had a phone call last night from a local architect who said to me he would be willing to work with the hospital to draw up a plan to show them how possibly they might be able to expand or use the area better that they have rather than taking down the Tappan House. There's a lot of buildings in Attleboro that have gotten new uses. Bliss School was a building that everybody was very unhappy with the fact that it was gotten so run down and nothing was being done with it, and now it's a beautiful place and people can still ride by there and say to their grandchildren, that's where I went to first grade. Blackington Inn, that was a house that Mr. Blackington, who ran the shuttle shop, built for his two sons, and now it's a beautiful inn. People come from everywhere to go there. Audubon, the building that Audubon is housed in is an 18th century house. I mean, I can go on and on with the list of old buildings that have become something new. And by having that building remain standing in the community, they are testimonials to our heritage. These buildings are our anchors, and that's what we grow from.